Today on the TMZ Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the TMZ Podcast. I'm Charlie Cotton and today I'm joined by Ed Lewis. How are you, Ed?
I'm doing great, Charlie.
Ed, before we get started today, wanted to let you guys know that TMZ Live, our daily news show hosted by Harvey and Charles, where they debate and discuss the biggest stories of the day, well, TMZ Live is now available as a podcast. You can download TMZ Live, the podcast, on Apple, Spotify, and all other podcast platforms. Ed, let me tell you why we got you in today, mate. You are the biggest festival goer at the office. You love music festivals.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Fyre Fest 2.
Right.
It's coming back. Billy McFarland is bringing back Fyre Fest. Also, you don't like talking about Britney Spears, so we're going to talk about Britney Spears.
I used to listen to her when I was a kid.
Okay. And finally, you're in our sports department, so you're going to talk about a controversy that is tearing apart the Little League World Series.
Ripping it apart.
What an open that was. Wow. Hang on to your hats. Fyre Fest 2 is coming back. Remember that old festival, the one that went completely wrong over in the Bahamas somewhere? There's documentaries about it. Fire Fraud, they're called, and other... People hated it. It's the one that Kendall Jenner tried to go to. They had the models there. It's going to be amazing. There's going to be these amazing acts and girls in bikinis. It was terrible. It was useless. So we spoke to Billy McFarland on TMZ Live. Let's listen to a bit of what he had to say. He's the festival's organizer who's bringing it back.
We announced our first pre-sale on Sunday. They sold out very, very quickly. And I think this kind of all comes back to, since 2016, Fyre has had 32 billion impressions across social media, which makes us like the most talked about festival in the world. I kind of feel like I'm the pilot of a single engine propeller plane right now, flying through the storm, where everybody wants to watch. And whether I crash or land, they want to have a front row seat as long as they're safe. So I think if I can kind of create that turbulence, then Fyre Festival 2 will become a great cultural moment.
Have you got your ticket, Ed?
No, they apparently all sold out real quick.
Yeah, the pre-sale. There are only 100 tickets pre-sale, but people had to buy them without knowing the date, the location, the music acts, the artists. Yeah, so 100 people were like, "Take my $500 because I'm willing to gamble."
Is it surprising at all, though? I don't find this surprising whatsoever. I mean, I feel like this is such a historic thing. You know, obviously, given the documentaries, it really blew it up to what it is now. But like, if you want to be part of round 2 of this, even if it's like a bomb, like it's still a unique part of history that you have a chance to be a part of. And we're not talking $5 million. It's $500 in a weekend. You know what I mean?
Look at you, Ed.
Like you spend that money at a bar sometimes. You know,
you have great nights out, Ed.
I don't know about that, but no, it's $500. You go out there, and at worst, you're at an exotic location, and you're part of history, whether it's good or bad. Like, can you imagine what a story you would tell, or what a pickup line, or what a conversation starter that would be like, I was at the OG Fyre Fest. I mean, you could talk to somebody for hours about that.
What sort of girls are you looking to pick up?
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Fyre Fest is iconic. It is like, it's a part of culture now. Fyre Fest is invoked in so many. Whenever you see a bad made cheese sandwich, Fyre Fest.
That's all you talk about.
That's all you talk about. So it makes sense of bringing it back.
And you have a chance to be a part of it round 2, and you know there's no way it's going to be as bad, right? I mean, it just cannot possibly happen. Like,
do you kind of hope it is? Like, is that kind of...
And that's the other part of it. So at worst, it's a horrific experience, and you get the story of, man, I was part of Fyre Fest 2. Y'all want to hear about it?
Yeah.
And at best, you get this exotic, amazing experience, what Fyre Fest should have been, the Kendall Jenners, the amazing music. This is the least surprising thing. When he came on TMZ Live yesterday, I was like, this is... I've never been less blown away by something, and I gotta imagine it succeeds.
I mean, I absolutely think it will succeed. Do you remember they did try to do like a Woodstock 2 one time? And
I do.
That went badly, I think.
Yeah, but that's a little different, right? Like that whole thing was set up by the people there. I mean, the why Woodstock was so famous was due to the crowd and the attendance, right? I mean, this was famous because it was the organizing was such a debacle.
Right.
I remember watching the documentary, and people couldn't even like get in their tents to sleep at night, and there was no power to like charge your phone or talk to, like have lights on.
There was no water. They were trying to get water, and the guy who became a famous sort of like internet personality from the documentary, this guy called Andy King, He was the guy who, Billy, this organizer guy, he said, Andy, we need that shipment of water. Go and give that guy oral sex to get the water off the truck.
Done it, yes.
And he would have done it. He would have done it. Billy, who just spoke on TMZ Live, he went to prison for nearly 4 years for his role in Fyre Fest. He defrauded investors of $26 million. That was back in 2017. And he was released last year. Then he went on to some house arrest type thing or something for a little bit. And now he's out and he's ready to do Fyre Fest 2. I agree with you, Ed. I think this is going to be a massive success either way.
But and it's again, like, he spent time in jail over this. You know what I mean? So, like, there's no way it happens again, right? Like, he's not giving up another half a decade of his life, you know, and obviously be significantly more if this happens again, you know? So it feels very safe, in my opinion, if you can even call it that, given how big of an abomination the first one was.
Yeah.
But there's no way it happens again. You're part of history again. It's got to be some sort of majestic experience this time, because he's got to make up for double what it was last time. So
True.
I don't think there's any way this doesn't work. And again, if it doesn't, what a story. I was part of Fyre Fest too. Like,
right. Next year, you can only go to one music festival, Ed. Like,
it won't be this one.
It won't be this one?
No, not at all. Oh. But, like, if I was going to a lot of music festivals, maybe you would think about it.
But you go to Coachella, right?
Yeah.
I see you in those tents, man. I see you dancing on people's shoulders and going all crazy.
Yeah. I'd rather go to that one, I think, because at least, like, I know it, you know? But, like, if I was, had more time and more festivals, that was my thing, why not?
Why not? Last time, Blink-182 was on the lineup and the Migos was on the lineup. If they can get both those acts back, I mean, people love them.
I agree. And you get even significantly more now, because,
Yeah.
like, he said this, I know it's only 100 people, but it's already sold out. There's obviously significant interest in it. Maybe the money comes in, it's so vast that you can go after some huge name, you know?
The most important thing that Billy said was just at the top there, where he said, this is the most talked about music festival in the world.
Ever, right?
Ever.
Yeah.
It is. And so you got to use that brand somehow. Like, either he has a cheese sandwich line or bottled water line, or do Fyre Fest again. And God knows, if it's a massive success, there'll be a Fyre Fest 3, 4, 5, and so on.
Yeah. You could, and again, like we talked about, you can't even eat a cheese sandwich here without somebody being like, this is Fyre Fest.
I know.
You know? So I just, it's got to.
People love
work.
like a comeback story, an underdog story. Fyre Fest is going to be that.
I think so too. I don't see how this fails.
On to our next story. Britney potentially has a new man in her life, her dad. You remember her dad was the biggest villain in Britney world. He was the one who put her under the conservatorship. And that was like, so all the Free Britney people hated this guy. Britney hated this guy. It looked like there was no coming back. They hate each other so much, they might just be defrosting their relationship. So yeah, we talked to Jamie about it. He's happy to, rekindle with Britney. And Britney, now that she's got nobody else in her life, seems like she wants her dad back.
Yeah, it makes sense. I wasn't obviously super familiar with how it all went down, but I don't see how this, again, it's similar to the Fyre Fest situation. I don't see how this it doesn't make sense for both parties. You know what I mean? This is my father. This is my daughter. She's obviously now alone, right? After the divorce with Sam, she needs people in her life that can help her, stay on track. And Jamie's had a history of doing that for her, right? I mean, that was basically her whole childhood and the conservatorship, right? He helped her make decisions, and it makes sense. And then we reported today that he's suffering from health issues. He's not doing so well. He's lost 25 pounds. He's got knee issues. He's going under the knife again soon to clean up some knee things that have caused a significant infection in his body. So she's obviously, feeling the need to reconcile before it's too late, So it makes sense for both parties, in my opinion.
This has been like the first bit of Britney kind of good news and sane, sort of like that makes sense sort of news in a little while, because even though he was the big villain in her world, he saved her life, putting her under that conservatorship. And yeah, a conservatorship is against the person's will a lot of the time. Like, they don't think they need help, but we know they do. And so he placed her under this involuntary hold and acted as a conservator, probably for too long. Probably he should have handed the reins over to a non-biased third party who's completely out of Britney world and just is looking after her affairs. He got too close to it. it didn't work out, and he stayed around too long, and that's when they became like bitter enemies. So the fact that she is now open to reconciling with her dad is an amazing step, and it's like it's a good sign that maybe this won't be like spiraling down the drain that some of us feared when she ended things with Sam.
Well, yeah, I mean that was my question to you. I know it's been kicked around in the office a little bit of is it actually a good thing that she got out of the conservatorship? You know, like does she need, obviously maybe not the whole the super constraint of it, but does she need some sort of guidance? You know,
and
what I mean?
Support system.
Yeah, and a support system, and it seems like Jamie knows what she needs. You know what I mean? Like that was a successful relationship for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Britney Spears is maybe the most iconic person in the world, you know? So he obviously did something right at some point in her life. So,
Right.
It seems to make sense.
It does. Sam, for his part, he's moved out, obviously, and he's living in, I mean, I don't know how this makes sense. He's living in a Century City apartment for $65,000 a month.
Where is this?
It's Century somewhere.
But like, what have you? You've been to Century City, obviously, a million times. Like, where is a $65,000?
I don't know. Well, apparently,
Century City.
it's in a building that offers places from $10,000 to $65,000. So he's got the best apartment in whatever building it is. It's probably a penthouse-ish type. I don't know, but I mean, this is a rhetorical question, but where's he getting that money from?
Oh, I think we know that one.
I think we know that one. But also, like, why does he even need this? It's just such a strange move to move. I guess it's almost like sticking it to Britney again. Like,
That's
I'm using your money to get as lavish a place as I can. She probably wanted him out and probably, you know, negotiated like a handshake agreement, like move out right now and I'll pay the la. And so he's out, but he's like living large in some Century City mansion.
But that was my point of the Century City topic. Like, you don't need $65,000 to be like in a beautiful place in Century City, right? Like, it's not Malibu, it's not Santa Monica, it's not some on the beach waterfront. Like, this
No.
it's not that Century City's bad or whatever.
It's
but
fine.
you could probably take $12,000 and live in some epic place in Century City. You know, it just feels like you said, like kind of twisting the knife a little bit. Like, I need 65 grand to live in a 1-bedroom or couple bedroom apartment in Century City.
Sense.
Man, yeah, you could buy a significant amount more.
It apparently includes a full bar, Rolls-Royce valet service, 1 acre private park, a lap pool. Oh, it says it has ocean views.
It's probably 100 stories up.
Yeah, it must be really high. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Oh, well, I don't know. Sam's journey from this point on, it interests me. Like, I don't know if he's going to fade into nothingness and we'll never really hear from him again and be like, oh, yeah, remember him? Or like this is kind of like his break, so to speak, and he'll be starring in some action film next, you know?
Well, did you get the vibe through that relationship that he was in it for fame? I don't know if I ever necessarily did. I mean, obviously, I'm super outsider coming from the sports department, but I never got the vibe that this was like, I'm with Britney so I could be, like you said, an action star.
But then why is he with her? I mean, in all due respect.
Well, true, but she's attractive. I don't know.
I mean, maybe that was mean. That was mean. I don't know. I thought that he must be in it for something because everyone's in relationships for something.
But was he ever? I never really remember him in front of the cameras and you know, like hawking paparazzis and stuff like that.
He is now.
I guess, but everyone wants to know his side of the story, right? Like,
yeah.
She's obviously got her side and has a much bigger microphone to tell hers.
Yeah,
he needs to get in front of it.
They were together for many years too before they even got married. So I was like, he stuck around for long enough that you started to think that maybe they were the real deal, and maybe they were. You know, maybe they were, but you know, now it's very sort of acrimonious. At least they're splitting up their 5 dogs. Sam gets one of their 5 dogs, Portia, the Doberman. Britney Spears gets the rest. Australian Shepherd named Sawyer, a Yorkie named Hannah, and we do not know the breeds or names of the other 2 dogs. They will go without names. So at least they split up their dogs, which is very contentious these days for kids with parents without kids. They think their dogs are their kids. On to our last story. Ed, I mean, I don't know much about baseball. I definitely don't know much about Little League. But you were excited by this Little League World Series story. Can you tell me about this kid that went viral?
Yeah, it's a very unique story. So obviously in baseball, you have a strike zone. If you throw outside of the strike zone, it's a ball. If you throw in the strike zone, it's a strike.
Gotcha.
Well, your strike zone is generally determined by your size. So if I'm crouched down, your strike zone is a little smaller. If I'm 6'8", my strike zone's going to be a lot bigger.
You are 6'8", nearly, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm barely. So at the Little League World Series this week, Mexico was facing off against Venezuela. The second baseman, Santiago Hernandez, kind of appeared to develop some sort of strategy to maybe try to steal strikes.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets down in the batter's box, and he is basically butt to dirt, like squatting. Like he's obviously small as is. These are 12-year-old, 13-year-olds in the Little League World Series, and he is down as far as possible that you can be, and it's an attempt to take a strike, right? Because if I'm this tall, if I'm just a foot off the ground, you got to imagine the guy's got to throw a strike. Well, the guy throws a strike to a normal batter, and the umpire calls it a strike. And it turns out in Little League World Series rules, and maybe in all of baseball, I'm not really too familiar how the MLB and all of it works. There's not sort of a general rule, but Little League, for its part, says if you are taking a normal practice swing, that is where your strike zone is. It's not necessarily where you're standing before you take the swing. So anyway,
this is the story that excited you, Ed? This is the story that excited you, really?
The whole point here...
You're ruining the podcast.
Listen, Charlie. Listen. The whole point here is this kid worked his entire young life to get to this point, and he's trying to steal a strike in the Little League World Series. It's so controversial. Why would you get there to this point and then try to cheat the system? Just go up there and swing the bat.
I don't get it, and I don't want to get it. Like, it's not interesting to me. It's not interesting to anyone listening.
Anyways, the whole point is karma came back around to him, and it was called a strike. So he had to, give the gig up. And to his credit, though, Mexico won anyway. So.
Okay, well, I mean, Little League World Series still going on. So if you guys want to catch it, ESPN 4, like, what is it on?
It's actually a big deal. It's on ESPN 1.
Oh, wow. Okay, maybe I'm the idiot. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming in and telling us about that amazing story, Ed.
Of course, Charlie. Anytime.
And we'll see you guys here tomorrow. Bye.